breathe the wild blood, the ancient design. The shapers of Asgard built towers of stone, but the dirt holds the claim of the marrow and bone. I feed the brood on the flesh of the dead. Soon the sky will be painted with a fog of red. Hear the pack align, hear the iron pine. The silver wheel will break, the mother's power wakes. Yarn with the ironwood and iron bar. Yarn with the witches on a shadow throw. Rise up the claws, swallow the sun. The doom of usurpers has just begun. Now, Skull hunts the daylight, Hati hunts the moon. The cage of their order will shatter out soon. I cradle the hunter, I harbor the jaws that answer to nothing but older raw laws. The winter is waking, the shadow line draws. No walls of the tyrants can hold back our claws. Yarn with the ironwood and iron bar. Yarn with the witches on her shadow throw. Rise up the claws, swallow the sun. Doom of usurpers has just begun. Now, Takala! Tear them asunder, tear them asunder, tear them asunder, tear them asunder, tear them Near Banbridge town in the county down, one morning in July, from a bohin green I was clearly seen as I went traipsing by. He stood quite still as if struck by a chill or a vision of ancient grace, and he gazed with a stare at my nut brown hair till the blood rushed to his face. From Bantry Bay up to Derry Quay, and from Galway to Dublin town, no lad I've seen has a look so.
Dang it. Thank you. I was almost ready. Well, I said hello to everybody, by the way,
And
that I saw.
Your TikTok chat is up over there, Floyd.
Thank you. I'm gonna move it over here so I can see it better. Okay.
Oh,
Hello, canonical heat. Yes, hello. Welcome in. Yeah, there we are. Do I need to turn it up higher? Is it okay? I'm not quiet if you were in this room talking to me, but I sound quiet compared to Castle. He's just so loud, like he projects very loudly. Is there still no sound, or are we good? Milo. I want to make sure everything's working.
yeah, your mic is working.
Okay.
It looks like your music might still be a little bit loud.
Is it loud?
So,
Is it up here?
yeah.
Like what, there?
It should be, I think, -30 is
good.
usually what I have it at.
-30?
Yeah.
Well, there is no negative. Oh, you mean up there, I see. Da-da-da. I guess I'll do -37.
That should be fine.
Hello, Terry. Hello, April and Gary. And again, Milu. Aaron, go to bed, get some rest. I want you to feel better. Hello, Frost. And Maddie and Teresa. And Emerald's Lady. Who am I missing? Am I missing someone? I'm sure Bear will pop in. You can hear me now? Okay, good. Perfect. You got me coffee, thank you. Appreciate you. You're the best.
Couldn't be expected to tell a whole story without a fresh cup of coffee.
Helps keep me alive-ish. I was so groggy today, I don't know what it was. My schedule had been doing all right. I'd been going to bed and waking up at decent hours, and then I did a late night with Castle and Maddie, and today I just wanted to keep sleeping. I don't know what's going on. You had 3 cups the other day? That's not surprising, though. We know that you are addicted to coffee, too. Coffee is 100% my vice. I will totally admit to that. I'm gonna have to give it up for a while, though. A late night is an understatement. Shh. You had a big nap today? That's good. Did you want to say hi, boo-boo? Huh? Come here. Say hello. Yes. He's like, no, I didn't want that. I just wanted to lay on your lap. Not what I came here for. Huh? Yeah. I'm so snuggly today. Yes, Milu. Easily a pot of coffee a day. That's too much. I'm pretty sure I'm drinking too much, but I can blame it on Castle because he makes it for me. It's not terrible. It ends up being like 2 to 3 cups.
For long days, you get 3 cups of coffee. For short days, you get 2. Today's a short day because you got up late, so you only get 2.
I back in the day, I used to drink like 5 cups, so a marked improvement. Okay. All right, you guys, we are getting really close to the end of this book. Like, we are right there. I think we probably only have a couple more chapters. I didn't finish the last chapter. My voice must have died. So we'll be finishing chapter 14, which is 16 pages. And then we've got chapter 15 and chapter 16. And that's it. Oh no, and an epilogue. But that's only a few pages. So we'll probably need today and next week. And possibly third week and starting something else, and just in case my voice dies. I had a cup that would hold a pot at one time. Oh my gosh. That's funny. It would I could probably fit in that cup because I'd have to like hold it like this. You have to lurk? Okay. Critique day. And who got that? It's too little for my eyes. Herring got a streak. Aaron has a streak. Why didn't it show what just happened? I saw a pop-up come up, but it's not showing the activity here, so it must have been on something else. Oh, Canonical Heat, $20 from Canonical Heat. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, and I'm sorry I'm stupid. Just like lost trying to figure out what happened. But you got your Vernal Blossom pudding, I saw. Thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it.
That might be the first time that one's ever popped up.
Vernal Blossom?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as it's not a regular occurring one. It's a special one.
And it says Aaron's on a 45-day streak.
Yep.
And Herring is on 15.
Yes. You guys are awesome. There used to be a giant travel cup from the Tim Hortons called the Big Tim, and it held almost a pot of coffee. See, that's too much. Like, maybe I like to drink my coffee slowly because I'm actually savoring the flavor. Like, I get good coffee. And then, you don't appear to be the typical muted gentleman I'm used to seeing. No. He's here, but Sundays is my day, actually. Bearded, not bald, yeah. Yeah, that's funny. Definitely not bald. But speaking of, I do need to do your hair. You need to do your hair.
The gas station Buc-ee's and Fast Trip used to have these refillable jugs that you could get that were like this big for their coffee. And
but where did they put that?
So Buc-ee's actually sells a holder that you can attach inside your truck.
A holder?
Yeah.
Oh my god, you would need it.
But the one from the Fast Trips were called like the slug jugs or something.
Okay.
But the Buc-ee's ones were the sipper buckets. And
that's excessive. Like,
yeah.
I know it's America, so I kind of feel like, yeah, we got to do that. But at the same time, I'm like, that's just ridiculous, because what do you do with it?
90 ounces.
90 ounces.
And you could fit, and they sell them to truckers, because then the truckers would come in and fill them up with soda or fill them up with coffee.
Yeah.
And it was the same. It was like $1 to refill them with coffee, so you could get 90 ounces of coffee.
I mean, it's a good deal. Good deal. Surefire way to get people to come in and buy other stuff. So yeah. I get it. Let's see if that was Chiquito. Nope, it was not. Maybe he would do it. My son is visiting his father in Ohio, so I miss him. There's Bear. Hello. Well, Buc-ee's is a city all to itself. Is it like a big giant truck stop or something?
So Buc-ee's is what you get. It's like the combination between a giant truck stop and like a 1990s McDonald's play place.
What?
Yeah.
McDonald's play place?
Yeah, like Buc-ee's is just a few, especially the big Buc-ee's, are just a few steps away from being theme parks.
That's crazy. Maybe they should make one. That's funny. I haven't been to one, so. There's Hank. Okay, so where we left off is Fanya has turned herself into a bird so she can follow the menfolk as they opt to do their sneaky attacks to get the islands back. And it's very clear that only the people who are doing the sneak attack in the water know about that. It's not known by the other allies that have come. It wasn't spoken about at the table, so that's something that she's noted. They want to be sure that if there's a traitor in the midst, nobody's going to give it away, is what it seems like. So, she thankfully has her uncle, the Finbar, who has the one arm that is a swan from the first book. And he's there kind of keeping an eye on her. Hello, Clifford. Welcome back. So, and her soon-to-be beau, because we all know what's going to happen, also recognizes that it's her. What if I go? Oh, it's Spirited Away. The graphic from Spirited Away. One of the Hayao Miyazaki films that I like. I even swore at it. What? What were you yelling at? Oh, your computer. Yeah, that happens. That happens. There have been plenty of days where technology made me want to just toss it into the pool, but I didn't. But there are times where you feel like that because you're just getting so frustrated with it. You need to watch that again. We could do a movie night if you want. I have most of the Hayao Miyazaki films. I don't have Porco Rosso. I don't have My Neighbors. The Tanakas, maybe? I can't remember. Or the Tanuki one. I don't have that one. Some of the like really, really old ones. And Totoro. Like I don't even really have Totoro. It's good, but it's not really like one of my go-tos. Yeah, I don't have Totoro. I don't know why, but sometimes that song gets on my nerves. It's so long. You have a limited edition? That's cool. Yeah, I definitely have Spirited Away. I have Howl's Moving Castle. I love that one. Nausicaa is also very good. We have the new one, which I have only watched once, actually. I've been meaning to watch it again. We have Ponyo. Ponyo is very cute. No, don't eat the moose, Milu. It's actually crazy that you saw so many moose. Like, hopefully that means whatever disease that they were getting is kind of going away. Yeah, it seems like that would be the case. Like, she seems like a kindred spirit, so. But yeah, it's funny. I took my father to see Spirited Away when it came out in theaters, and he fell asleep. It's not really his thing. I really love Princess Mononoke. Like, that was the first Hayao Miyazaki film that I just, like, got super attached to. And of course, Kiki's Delivery Service, also very cute. Like, there's just so many good kind of coming-of-age stories in his films, you know? Yeah, that is crazy. I wonder what's going on. I hope they survive, honestly. Like, I know they're dangerous, but my gosh, the fact that they were dwindling so quickly was kind of scary for a while. Yeah, Kiki's Delivery Service, also one that's just great to watch over and over because it's just such a good reflection of what people go through in real life. That's why I love his films so much. Like they have all these fantastical elements, but they're so relatable. There's a lot of babies, like 4 were babies. Wow. Cute. But dangerous. Hello, Dyson. Welcome back. Oh, okay, Milu, no problem. Porco Rosso and Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind are your top 2 favorites. Porco Rosso, I think I was just introduced to it too late. Like, it was good, but I also just didn't care to watch it again. I don't know why. Didn't strike me the same way as the others. But, I mean, all of his films are great. And actually, I liked his son's Tales of Earthsea. But I think that's also because I liked the book. So I already had a little bit of an attachment, but I liked the interpretation of it. It was interesting to me. I do remember Hayao kind of being like very critical of it. And it would be hard. You have like this legend in the animation industry, and then you're the child trying to kind of like match that, and it's just impossible. You can't really win in that scenario. Had a cat called Kiki about 50 years ago. Cute. You're listening while driving home? Okay, well, please drive safe. For sure. Okay, so I need to figure out where I actually stopped. I might just start on the left page, even if it is a duplicate. Just so we can get our bearings and see what's going on here. Okay. So hot. Alrighty, guys. Let's go ahead and get started. And I will try to pay attention to what's going on now and then in case there's an issue. And if you... Can you hear the cat wheel? I could make him go somewhere else if that's the case. I don't know why, but whenever you can, yeah, I don't know why, but when I'm streaming, he wants to get on there. Huh. Stinker. Come. It's okay? Alright. Well, just let me know if it's too much, or I'll just stop when it sounds loud. Alrighty, here we go. Now Connor came forth, birch staff in hand, and began the slow pacing, the solemn words of a ritual of augury. A small plume of pungent smoke rose into the air. Herbs of divination were being burned. I left Finbar's shoulder and flew to the roof tree of the low building, a better vantage point. The druid cast the circle. He sought the blessing of the four quarters and expressed the respect of all for the power of the elements and those deities to whom each pertained. Milo, please, why do you do it when I'm on stream? Probably because he knows I won't yell at him the way the castle will. Oh, you saw cosplayers? That's cool. Yeah, you don't really see any of it anymore, but yeah, it's good. Alright. Some of those present were not adherents to the old faith. I had seen crosses worn around necks and observed a man who seemed to be a tonsured father among the forces of the Oonagh. Still, all were quite silent. All watched intently as Connor stepped to the corner of the circle he had made and brought out a little bag of soft kidskin, fastened with a golden cord. He took out the cauldrons, the slender sticks of pale birch wood with their carven ogham signs, and, with the invocation to the goddess, strewed them before him on the raked earth. All eyes were on him, all but one's man's. Eamon stood to the side, flanked by his green-clad guards. An odd little smile still played on his features, the smugly anticipatory look of a cat which holds the mouse alive but helpless in its claws. The crowd watched Connor as he bent now, to study the fall of the rods of augury. But Eamon was looking at me. I shifted uneasily on my perch, wondering how he could possibly know, how he could possibly guess. I reached down with my beak to preen my feathers nervously, stretching out a small wing, folding it back again as I had seen that ragged owl do. I tried to look as any other bird might, going on about its business on a fair morning. Eamon's smile widened in apparent amusement. He gave a little nod of acknowledgement, never taking his eyes off me. I remembered the way he had been at Seven Waters, always watching, silently observant, as if he were putting together the pieces of a puzzle in order to discover whatever might be to his advantage. I had thought he could not uncover this secret, but it seemed I had underestimated the man yet again. The silence stretched out as Connor crouched by the scattered rods, unmoving. The augury should have been a simple one, before a single answer was needed, to go now or to wait. But the archdruid had turned very pale, and a frown creased his ageless brow. The men began to mutter among themselves. Why didn't the fellow tell what he saw? Did the divination show ill tidings? That he did not stand and speak? Connor raised his head and looked at his brother. Finbar's fear was almost palpable to me as he walked slowly across to stand by the druid, a straight, slight figure in his worn robe and tattered cloak, the sweep of snowy feathers by his side plain for all to see in the bright light of the spring morning. There were a few gasps of surprise, a few exclamations quickly suppressed. I saw one man make a sign of the cross furtively. Somewhere a dog barked, and the man with the swan's wing froze momentarily. I felt the trembling terror that ran through him, as if it were my own. I, too, was a part wild thing, until the time should come to change. But Finbar could not change. Be strong, I thought. Be strong as you once were. Finbar moved again, squatting down by his brother's side. The two men studied the pattern of the cauldrons closely. Neither spoke. Perhaps there was no need. The silence drew out again, and the assembled warriors began to shuffle in restless unease. "Tell us." It was Sean of Seven Waters who broke the silence, speaking calmly from where he waited among his men. "What are the signs? Does the goddess smile on our venture?" "Come on, man, out with it," the war leader of the Oonagh, Christian as he might be, knew well enough that the timing was dependent on this, for those who had led the campaign would not proceed unless the signs were favorable. Connor stood upright, his features grave but calm. "As in 5, thank you." It seemed to me his mask of serenity was held in place by a strong effort of will. Beneath it there was some great misgiving. His white robe settled about him, his folds full of shadows even in the morning sunlight. "I will tell true," he said in a voice which seemed quiet, and yet somehow carried to every corner of that great assembly of men. "The signs are not all good. There is an obscurity here, some darkness, that clouds the path of our endeavor, that conceals the full pattern of it. It is as if even the great powers of the other world cannot be certain how this will unfold, and yet the message of the augury is clear in one respect. We must move now and not delay. By dawn tomorrow our fleet will touch the shores of the islands, and before the sun sets, the land will run red with the blood of those who dared to set foot on our sacred ground. We will drive them thence, or see them perish under arrow and blade, perish to the last man. This we swear by all that is true." There was a great roar of approval from the crowd. Connor's words had been carefully chosen, I thought, for just such an effect. The reservation in his augury would be soon forgotten. The men scented victory, and now strained at the leash like hunting dogs. Maybe there was blood and death in it. But what brave young warrior of 21 thinks it will be his own? There was a light in their eyes, a spring in their steps as they made their way back to the various encampments to ready weapons, to make the final adjustment to ship and sail and instruments of war. They did not see the pallor of Connor's features, nor the shadow in his brother Finbar's strange, clear eyes, as the two of them stood talking quietly with Sean of Seven Waters, and Johnny, and the chief. They did not notice the grim set of Sean's jaw, nor the fierce, frowning determination on the fair young features of the child of the prophecy. But I did, and I heard my grandmother's voice as I sat there on the roof of the meeting-house, a voice long silent, awake again within me as the amulet glowed warm against my breast. "Good, Vanya. Good, child. All is in place. Do not fail me now, so near the end." My heart lurched at the sound of it. I had been right. She watched me. She tracked me even in my bird form. Connor had seen a darkness. I knew what that darkness was and whence it came. My grandmother was part of it, and I was part of it, whether I wished it or not. A terrible fear ran through me, remembering how I had slept last night, sheltered in the warmth of Derek's hands. I must not go near him again, not from now until it was all over. Nor would I bring her close to Finbar, already so damaged by her cruelty. This day and the night I must spend quite alone. Let me snooze this. There was not much in the way of trees, low scrubby bushes, a few leafless apples. There were buildings half hidden by folds of the land, or constructed deep with a great turf-cloaked mound of earth covering them, secure from wind and frost. These offered no hiding place for a small bird to avoid wandering fox or tailless cat, or the prying eyes of a chieftain with too much of an interest in solving puzzles. And there was Hyaha. I understood that he was somehow on my side, but still I feared his sharp beak, his clutching claws, and his swiftness. Near Hyaha, perhaps I might have been safe from the other predators, but my bird self froze in terror at the glimpse of his dark form, as he followed Johnny about the encampment, now before, now behind, keeping pace, keeping watch. I could not bring myself to go near. I found a spot in the bushes close by the track, leading down to the anchorage. It was not a place of concealment. I kept as still as I could, hoping to stay unnoticed. Curse the red crest, The charm I had used to change myself had said nothing of that. Some malign power had done it. I made it all too easy for those who knew me to identify me. Even Derek had known. Derek, who knew nothing of magic. The day passed. The men went about their business, faces grim with concentration or bright with purpose. There was no fear of death in their eyes. They passed me by on the track and did not look at me. But once, as the warriors in green made their way down to the ships, which lay so gracefully there on the calm water, the chieftain of Sheduv and Glencarna halted on the pathway and motioned his men to go ahead of him. He stood there with his hand shading brow, as if inspecting the fleet, or the clouds, or the wide expanse of sea beyond the bay. "Well, Fanya," he said under his breath, "a strange meeting indeed. My men would think me crazed that I hold a conversation with a wild creature. But I cannot let the opportunity pass us by. I imagine you have waited here for just this purpose. I owe you the greatest of debts, my dear. The information you sent me has served me better than you could have possibly imagined. Tonight I have him at last. Tomorrow the world is a better place for his demise. Oh, Fanya, what you have done for me is beyond price." His strange words made me shiver. The look on his face struck a deep fear into me. What information? I had not spied. I had sent him nothing. What could he mean? "It will be easily explained," he went on. "No finger can be pointed at me. The man was simply too old for such a venture. That is what folk will say in the morning. It will be dark and cold. The distance is long, the task taxing even for a young man at his peak. Better that he sent another. Still, he was ever a fellow who liked to be in the forefront of things. But by then it will be too late." He smiled, and I saw the spark of madness in his dark eyes. I fancied I heard my grandmother's voice. Oh yes, play on that. "It is passing strange to see you in this form," Eamon said, glancing at me sideways, then back across the water. "And yet not so strange, maybe. Our partnership, I think, will be one of great advantage to us both. This form you have chosen is a vulnerable one, my dear. You must be cautious. I would not wish you to come to any harm. The anticipation of the marriage bed stirs my body even now. There is a whole new world of discovery there. Indeed, there is a new life ahead for the two of us." I shuffled nervously on the perch, longing for him to go away, not quite prepared to fly off myself, since I had nowhere else to go. His earlier words had unsettled me deeply. I struggled to make sense of them. Other men appeared behind Eamon on the path. It might not have bothered Finbar or Derek to be seen talking solemnly to a small gray bird as if she could understand them. But Eamon was too dignified to be caught in such foolishness. "Farewell now," he muttered. "Take care, my dear. I want you safe." Then he was away, down the track, and the others after him. He knew, then. He knew of the swim, and the terrible risk that would be taken, tonight, by 5 men to ensure the Britons would be crippled before ever the fleet of the Allies touched the shore of the islands. He knew, and planned to strike when the chief was at his most vulnerable. But how had he learned his secret? Why had he thanked me for this knowledge? I had told him nothing. I had told nobody what I knew. Nobody except my grandmother. I remembered suddenly how I had spoken to her of the swim, because it had been necessary to convince her I still followed her orders and worked to her purpose. Somehow she had ensured Eamon found out, had done it in a way that made him believe the information came from me. It would be easy enough, some sort of unsigned message, a whisper in the darkness, almost like a dream. A safeguard, she'd said. Oh, the ad started. Okay. We'll wait for the ad to end, and then we'll go back. It's so warm, you guys. I don't know if it's the light or the weather or just both working together. to be torturous. Yes. And you are not making it better. Boo has been very snuggly today. Hopefully he doesn't feel icky. It's 97 there? Ugh. It's terrible. That's a big no thank you for me. Someone's out there blasting music. My kitty. My kitty. See, I could... 63 sounds perfect to me. I could totally do that right now. I would welcome it. I was just saying earlier, I'm like, yeah, I wish when I was little and like this temperature would feel cold to me. Now I'm just dying. Maybe I need one of those little desk fans. I don't know if that would mess with the mic though. How cold does it get over there in the winter, Bear? I mean, where you are, obviously, I understand that Australia is very large, so it'd be different everywhere, right? But I mean where you are. I took my son to the anime convention out here on his birthday, and there were like tons of cosplayers, but there were also a lot of attendees, so we couldn't really enjoy the cosplayers all that much. It was just way too crowded. In my opinion, it was way too crowded. Alrighty, now we can go back since the ad is done. Ready. My heart was beating fast, my body chill. I must warn them. There was little time, the day was passing quickly, and I did not know how soon the small Keurig must set sail for the swimmers to reach the British anchorage and return to safety before dawn. I must tell them there was a traitor in their midst, who put his crazy own quest for vengeance before the balance of the great campaign. But how? How could I tell them? I was a dove. I had no human speech, and I could not make myself a girl again. Not yet. It was tomorrow's battle that would decide the final unfolding of things, and to be there I must remain in this form, so I could fly to follow them, and be strong. Change back, and my Uncle Sean would bundle me off home to Erin in safety, no matter what I told him. If that happened, I could not do as I must and prevent the Lady Oonagh from performing her dreadful work of destruction. That was my task, and mine alone. And in the long term, that mattered more than anything. How could I warn them? I did not know what Eamon intended. He could hardly mean to join the group himself. I could imagine what the chief would have to say about that. What did he plan? Perhaps I could follow and listen. Still, I would be powerless, for I had neither words to use nor the voice of the mind, and there were only two who knew my identity, save Eamon himself. Finbar and Derek. I could not approach either. I would not draw to either my grandmother's interest, for to do so would put them at grave risk, and to provide her with powerful weapons against me. I flew back to the main encampment, itching with frustration that I could not be myself again. I perched in a tree, on a rope suspending a shelter, on a post in the open. Men worked quietly, or rested in preparation for the long effort without sleep. Prayers were spoken, of one persuasion or another. Sean sat with Eamon and the war leaders of the Oonagh and looked at charts. Eamon's pale features were calm and serious. His eye revealed to no light of madness now. He was like any other chieftain who plans a foray with his long-term allies. He looked, in a word, trustworthy. Johnny was engaged in more active pursuits. I saw him leave the sheltered area with 3 other men, those who were to swim with him tonight, Sigurd and Gareth and Derek. They slipped away quietly, perhaps for some final rehearsal of the night's risky maneuver. Some time later I discovered the chief down at the cove, with Snake and Gull by his side, checking the small Keurig with the dark sails. In this vessel they had moved to and fro, between the islets back at Innis Isla, balancing the craft like some great skillful seabird on the swift ebb and flow of the tide. I flew down through the salt touch of splashing wavelets to alight as neatly as I could on the stern of the Keurig. But once I was there, I could think of no way to convey to them my message at all. A dove could not make pictures in the sand, or cast the culbrins to mark out disaster. A dove could not do more than flutter its wings anxiously and make small worried chirrups. "Bird seems bothered," Snake observed with a half-smile as he adjusted the rope tighter. "Hopping around like some chicken in that... knows it's next for the pot." "Came over from Ulster on the boats, that's what I heard," said Gull. "Maybe it's an omen." "Good luck, I hope," Snake said. "Creature's quite agitated, almost as if it were trying to tell us something. Aren't they normally timid little things?" "We need no luck, nor any omens." The chief pattern's features were solemn, his grey eyes clear and purposeful, his son's eyes. The sunlight shone bright on the fair, unmarked side of his face, and for a moment it could almost have been Johnny standing there. "Skill and planning, and good preparation will ensure success here, as they have done all in our past ventures. Disregard the bird. Perhaps it is lost, flown off course by the west wind. Our own strength will suffice, with no need for auguries and portents." "Still," said Gull, glancing at me again. But he took it no further, and I could see there was no way for me to tell them what I knew. Then, suddenly, Gareth was coming down the track to the anchorage, his amiable features tense with strain, his face white. The chief straightened slowly from where he bent to adjust the ropes. "Well," he demanded, "what is it?" "Sigurd's taken sick. The flux, a bad dose of it. Came on all of a sudden. He's not going to be able to swim." The chief's hard mouth tightened further. "Gull, can he be doctored with something? Have you a potion for this?" "How severe is it?" Gull was leaving his task, ready to hasten up to the encampment, dark features creased in a frown. "Bad. Purging and retching as if he'd taken poison. You'd have to work a miracle to have him ready in time." I felt my insides knot with fear. Poison. There were only 5 swimmers, and one of them was Derek. "What about the backup?" the chief asked quietly. Like the seasoned campaigner he was, he did not panic, but assessed the possibility swiftly and calmly. "Mika, not up to it, Chief. Slit his hand this morning in a practice bout. Hasn't the full use of it yet. He'll do well enough tomorrow in the battle, but he can't do this. Johnny says he won't risk him." Snake muttered an oath under his breath. "Have we no men here but invalids?" the chief asked softly. "Are we undone so easily? I cannot believe this." "Cormac says he can do it if you'll give him the chance," ventured Gareth with some hesitation. "He hasn't swum the distance before, but he's strong, and he says he can manage it." "I think not." There was a finality to the chief's tone that closed off any thought of argument. "I may risk 1 son in this venture, but not 2. Cormac is too young and untried. He will take his place with pride tomorrow among the men, but he will not be part of this. We must find another, for there must be 5, 1 for each vessel. As it is, the venture is risky. With less than 5, it becomes simply foolhardy. No man would wish to be discovered there close by the Britain's ships, with a mask over his face and a neat iron spike in his hand. With 5, we strike together and retreat together." Gareth nodded, his blunt features serious. "Johnny's asking discreetly," he said. "There may be one among the Oonagh or among Lord Aemon's men who could attempt this." Bran spat efficiently at the side of the path. One of the Oonagh, maybe, or the Norsemen, he said. I'll trust none of the men in the green. That was how it came to pass, that 5 men sailed south into the dusk on their covert mission. And that one of them was an assassin. That was how it came to be that I saw them go, and could do not a thing to stop it. There was indeed a man of the Oonagh who was a strong swimmer. His fellow warriors backed him up his claims and spoke highly of his strength and endurance. He had fair hair plaited down his back, an irregularity of build so that one shoulder was higher than the other. It did not impede him in the water, they said. Johnny tested him in the chill embrace of the sea, out beyond the bay, and pronounced himself satisfied. The chief was less happy. Still, there was no choice but to accept the fellow. They could not wait for Sigurd to recover. He was reduced to a shivering, sweating wreck, unable to so much as drop a drop of water in his stomach. He would not be ready tomorrow, or the next day, or the day after. And the druid had said the time was now. As for me, I had seen the swimmer before. Maybe he was one of the O'Neill's men. Certainly he wore the symbol of the coiled snake. But it was at Glencarna I had observed him, through a slit of doorway in secret council. I knew he was Eamon's creature, a spy and a killer. So, when they sailed away, I had no choice but to follow. It was dusk. It was cold. A rock-dove's instinct was to fly for shelter and hide from predators of the night. But I flew out in the fading light, my heart thumping with terror, fear of the waves, of the dark, of the cold, of owls and other hunting creatures, of getting lost and flying on over open sea until I dropped from exhaustion. I had to go, though I could do nothing to aid them. If this went wrong, it would be my fault. For who had told of this secret venture save myself? The 5 were not alone. The foray depended on support. The small boat had 6 rowers, and the swimmers silent on the thwarts, clad in black, with the tight dark hoods over their faces. Beneath the woolen clothing, their bodies had been thickly coated with goose fat, to help keep out the cold. In the silver light of the moon, you could scarce tell one from the other. Each wore strapped to his back a strange implement fashioned on hard wood, with a sharp iron spike at the end, and a small hook a hand-span back from it. Each bore in his belt a sheathed knife. For a warrior, unexpected attack is always a possibility, even on the most meticulously planned of missions. Besides, there were the sea monsters. The breeze was moderate. They raised the small sail, and the curragh slipped over the water as swift and secret as some silent dweller of the deep. I followed, cursing the bird sight which belonged to a daytime creature, the bird instinct which made every corner of my small body vibrate with the wrongness of being out here alone at night, and scarce able to see 10 paces before me. The moon shone. I followed the curl of the foam at the curagh's prow, where it cleaved the swell and the pale faces of the rowers, who bent to their oars as one. Only the swimmers wore hoods. Their mission took them into the very heart of the Britons' territory. If they were seen, they would be taken, for so near that shore they would be far outnumbered. It did not require a great strength of the imagination to work out what would come next, as Northwood sought to discover their true purpose. Cursed Eric. Why had he come here? Was the boy stupid, that he could not understand how wrong it was for him to pretend to be one of these fierce, ruthless fighters, and not the simple traveling man he was? Didn't he realize they could all be dead by morning? I was growing weary. The night was very chill. The cold grasp of the ocean seemed not so very far below me, as I flew doggedly on. I could not land on the boat. Derek would see me. He'd more than enough to worry about without that. And might not my grandmother be watching even now? My body ached. I could scarce move my wings up and down. If I fell behind, all would be lost. I must keep going. I was not a dove after all, but a sorcerer's daughter. I must be strong as my father had taught me. At a quiet command from Johnny, the men began to take down the sail. The movement of the oars changed. Ahead, there was a roaring sound like a voice of challenge from the ocean itself, a deep, threatening swirl of noise. Who goes there? Approach me if you dare. Not far ahead of us in the moonlight, I could I could at last see land. A rocky island so narrow and high in its pinnacle seemed to pierce the dark sky. The water frothed and boiled around its base, white and treacherous. And there were other rocks nearby, their jagged forms near invisible save where the slick surfaces gleamed in the cold light, or the sea threw itself against them in a wild curtain of spray. The oarsmen held the small boat steady. This maneuver was second nature to them. Rehearsed so many times they could surely perform it almost without thought. "Ready? It's time." Johnny's voice was calm. "Pull hard toward the needle. Remember what you've been told about this current. Don't let the sight of those reefs tempt you to go out into the wide, for then it will grip you and suck you down. This is no practice run, lads. We have one chance. The worm's mouth is unforgiving. Use its force to pull you through. We can do this. Summon the strength and the will, and may the hand of the goddess guide us." Nobody answered, but the oarsmen gripped harder and seemed to brace themselves, and then, with a suddenness that made my heart lurch, they dug with their blades hard toward the knife-sharp rocks which encircled the tall, steep island, and the cuirass shot forward, faster than human effort could possibly drive it. Some tremendous current had seized it, and now it disappeared into a dark emptiness, where the only landmark was the churning, frothing surface of the water, the only signal its endless, hungry roaring. For long moments I fluttered, panicking helplessly above the raging water. Surely the sea had swallowed them, and would spit them out again in a spray of shattered wood and splintered bone. No man could survive such a cauldron of seething power. They were gone. I was alone in the night. Once I had feared to bathe myself in the still waters of a small lake, in case I slipped and went under. Below me the sea boiled and grumbled. Behind me the long, empty miles stretched back to the camp. With nothing to follow, how could I find the way? Before me was the impossible channel, the secret way to the Britain's anchorage. No wonder none had thought to use it before. It was impassable, the attempt an act of complete stupidity. But Johnny was not stupid. The chief was no fool. And somewhere through there was Derrig, who would not be here at all if not for me. Somewhere down there was a man with a sharp knife in his belt and death on his mind. With a silent plea to Manannán, I gathered my strength and flew after them, straight across the furious maelstrom and onto the open water beyond. The boat was there, well past the narrow channel, and already dark-hooded men were slipping over the side into the cold embrace of the sea. There were larger islands not far away, looming up like broad-backed ocean creatures. Somewhere, close by in a sheltered bay, the fleet of the Britons lay at anchor. Somewhere on these grassy slopes the fortified encampment of Northwoods housed a strong contingent of battle-hardened warriors. There would be archers in the towers, guards at the perimeters. These swimmers now ventured deep into the heart of the forbidden territory. I could not follow them there. I must do nothing to draw attention to them. Besides, I was weary and could go no further. Reluctantly I fluttered down at last and settled on the stern of the curragh. The rowers sat quiet. They held the small craft still on the water. "You again," whispered Werfrith, who had the oar closest to me. "What?" Godric hissed. "Druid's familiar," Werfrith said. "Tinker's little friend, still with us. Good omen. Here's hoping." "They'll need all the good omens they can get," someone else observed. "Timing's close. In, do the job, out. And in place to hoist the signal at dawn, bring the fleet in. Not much margin for error." "Johnny doesn't make errors," Godric's tone was confident, though still he kept his voice to a whisper. "They'll be back in time. A triple blow for Northwoods this'll be. First the fleet, second the attack from this side against all odds, third our pact with the Norsemen. They won't expect that." "Got the chief to thank for the Hakon's support," said Werfrith. "Just goes to show calling in old favors can be handy at times." "Shh," said someone else, and they fell silent once more. Time passed. It was very cold under the spring moon. I ruffled up my feathers, but still the wind bit hard. The young warriors waited uncomplaining. Such privations were part of their long training, the discipline integral to their way of life. I understood that all too well, remembering winter in the honeycomb. It grew still colder, the thought of those men in the water, between the freezing grip of the ocean and Northwood's watchful guard, and the traitor in their midst. It seemed to me they had little chance. If the assassin struck, the chief would die, and my Aunt Leodin would lose the man she called her lover, her husband and her soul friend. It would be she who bore the brunt of Aemon's terrible vengeance. Perhaps that had been his intention all along, to punish her for not preferring him, and I had helped him. I waited trembling as the night wore on. There would be no rest for these men. When the dawn broke, the fleet of the Irish would sail in, and they would descend with the others on the islands, there to strike with arrow, and cleave with axe, and slash with sword, until the Britons fell to their knees in surrender, or were slain every one. It was a very long night, and it would be a longer day. At last the moonlight faded, and the sky began to brighten to the dull gray that presages dawn. These men would not express doubt. Johnny was their leader, and the child of the prophecy, and everyone knew the chief's reputation. He had never failed the mission, no matter how difficult. They would return. They must return. So nobody said, "Where are they?" or, "It's getting late." Indeed, nobody said a word, but as the sea surface changed from an ink-dark blanket to a rippling expanse of deepest greens, and gulls began to circle over the Curragh, I saw a grimness in the men's eyes, and a set about their jaws that alarmed me. Who knew better than I what might have delayed the swimmers? Still perched in the stern of the boat, and trembling with fear and cold, I watched the shapes of the larger islands become slowly clearer as the sky lightened, and doubted I would have the strength to fly when I must. Perhaps my bird sight was an asset after all. I saw them first, no more than dots in the water, making their way towards us in the rise and fall of the swell. I stretched my cramped wings and moved along the rim of the Curragh, and I tried to draw the men's attention. But a dove's voice is not made for loud alarms, for calls to action. Soon enough they sighted the group of swimmers and seized oars to edge the Curragh closer. For the return was almost too late. They must sail back to the point where they would be visible to the waiting fleet, and raise the signal to advance. The red banner of action. If they delayed too long, the Northwoods would realize what was happening. It would give him the chance to mount a solid defense, boats or no boats. That was not part of the plan. "There's but 3 of them," Godric muttered as the craft drew closer. 3, no, 4, but... "Something's amiss," Werefrith said, and gave the signal to hold the oars balanced. So the craft lay still in the water. The swimming men were alongside now. I could hear the labored rasp of their breathing, and see their shadowy eyes through the holes of their close-fitting hoods. I could see, too, that of the 4 men who floated there in the chill tide, there was one who lay limp and helpless, held up only by the strong grip of another around his chest, and I could see the red ribbon of blood which streamed forth, bright as spring poppies on the dark surface of the water. "Quick," said a voice. "He's hurt, get him aboard." That was Gareth, who swam alongside, who now reached to push the injured man upward as Godric and Werefrith hauled him to the Curragh. The black-clad form sprawled across the benches where they laid him. Werefrith peeled back the mask with cautious fingers, and revealed the ash-white features and flaxen hair of Aemon's man. The clear light of dawn played on his staring blue eyes, and his bloodless lips, and the gleaming hilt of the dagger which had been driven deep into his chest. "This man's not hurt, he's dead," said Godric, rolling the fellow off the bench and into the bottom of the Curragh out of the way. "Get the rest of them up quick, it's close to sunrise." First came Gareth, now ominously silent. Then a taller, thinner man. I breathed a prayer of thanks to the goddess, though doubtless it was not out of any consideration for me that she had preserved Eric's life thus far. Then the last man, shortish, well-built. They stripped off their hoods. Godric passed around a metal flask, and all 3 drank and gasped and shuddered. The silence was palpable. "Where's Johnny?" somebody said eventually, asking the question nobody had been quite prepared to put into words. "Lost," said Gareth heavily. He took another mouthful of the drink and wiped his hand across his lips. Lost? What do you mean, lost? He can't be. Godric was incredulous. Gareth glanced at the chief, who had sat beside him on the bench quite silent. Drowned, he said. We don't know what happened. The task is done. Each of us crippled one ship as we planned. But when we assembled again to make the swim back, there was only the three of us. We searched, though time was short and the risk of discovery high. We found Phelim here, floating on the tide, with a knife in his chest. But there was no sign of Johnny. My heart turned cold. The struggle was over. She had won. My grandmother had won, almost by accident, before I ever had the chance to stand against her. She had not achieved the victory by cleverness or stealth or cunning use of magical craft. She had triumphed simply because Aemon's assassin had made an error, had mistaken one man for the another. But out there in the dark, who knew how long the two of them had wrestled together in the water before one let go, the dagger at his breast, the lifeblood flowing swift, and the other drifted away in the tide, perhaps strangled, perhaps drowned, perhaps himself the victim of a none too subtle knife thrust. We must make sail, the chief spoke now, his voice constrained, as if he exercised the tightest of controls. The longships will be waiting. We must not delay the attack, or the element of surprise will be lost. But Chief, Godric's tone was a complete outrage. We can't just leave him there. Bran regarded him levelly. He is lost, he said, and despite his best efforts, his voice shook. Believe me, we searched. We hunted until we had barely time enough to reach you before dawn. He is drowned and swept away. There is some work of treachery here, but it seems the only witness is silent. He glanced down at the dead man sprawled at his feet. How can we go without Johnny? One of the men asked blankly. How can the battle be won without the child of the prophecy? There was silence. That's Johnny's knife, said Werefrith, eyeing the dead man. I'd know it anywhere. I could hazard a guess at what happened. See, the man's own dagger sheath is empty. The truth will be discovered, the guilty punished. The chief's tone was again controlled, that of a seasoned battle leader. For now we must make a swift decision. Hoist the sail. Whatever choice we must make away here without delay. We cannot wait, hoping for miracles. I thought for a moment the men would not obey. They stared back across the empty water, faces pale with shock. This was not just the loss of their leader. It was the snatching away of their very purpose. Still, they were professionals. The sail was raised, the oars taken, and the Keurig began to move rapidly away from the land. Never have got this fellow back aboard save for Derek here, said Gareth. Towed him all the way. Thought he might have had a chance. Scarce worth the bother, muttered Werefrith. Man's stone dead. The O'Neill will be answering a question or two before the day is over. Derek himself sat silent. Perhaps he was exhausted from the night's swim. Perhaps shocked by his first sight of treachery and loss. I stayed behind him, out of his view. Our small craft slid through the waves, swift as a gull's flight, and soon enough there was an order to heave to and wait. This is the point, Werefrith said. From here we can be seen by the leading longship. The signal must be given. Red to advance, white if we want them to hold, and delay until another day. There was silence. The fleet is sunk. The mission is accomplished. We must raise the red banner, Gareth said. I thought I saw tears glinting in his broad cheeks. How can we? Snapped Godric, voice shaking with rage. Our leader is lost. The child of the prophecy is dead. No wonder the druid didn't want to tell us what the divination showed. We cannot win this battle without Johnny. He's right, said Werefrith heavily. The prophecy makes that clear. Go in without him and we're like as not all be slaughtered. The whole thing depends on Johnny. Without his leadership there can be no victory. Seems to me, all turned in surprise as Derek spoke up quietly, his tone calm, that we might as well go on with it. We've fine ships, good men, strong allies behind us. We've sunk the Britain's fleet, so he starts at disadvantage. And there's something even more important. What would Johnny want us to do? Would he want his men to retreat for fear of failure? Or show their courage and put up a good fight for the things he cared about? He paused. I know I'm no warrior, but that seems to me plain common sense. Oh no, I thought. Not common sense, but foolish courage. You will die. You will all die. Go home. Save yourselves at least, since it seems there is nothing else to be done here. But Gareth looked at Derek in surprise and gave a nod. Werethith scratched his chin. Godric was still hostile. It was his grief, perhaps, that fueled his anger now. We have no leader, he said grimly. How can we raise this banner? And call forward the forces of the Allies when they have lost their rallying point, their very reason to go on. The whole campaign would be a lie. I will lead. The chief spoke very quietly, but there was a core of iron in his voice. You, my lord? Godric raised his brows. Fine champion you may be, but you are still a Briton. Did you not swear you would remain apart from this confrontation, for the sake of preserving your truce with Northwoods? How can you lead us? Bran turned his cool grey eyes on the young warrior. My son is lost, he said. I will lead. Godric fell silent. Gareth drew a deep breath and squared his shoulders. Right, men, he said firmly, with the marks of his tears still stark on his amiable features. We do this for Johnny. If he cannot wield the sword today, we use our own blades to honor him. If he cannot fulfill the prophecy, we can at least ensure the men of Erin do not go down without a good fight. We may yet triumph. He glanced at the chief. Well spoken, lad. Bran gazed ahead toward the third island, the tall, stark pinnacle of rock whose treacherous base concealed the secret channel, the place of the worm's mouth. Hoist the red banner, he commanded. This is the dawn of our great endeavor. Tonight we sleep the sweet sleep of victory, or the long, dark sleep of death. And that's the end of chapter 14. Now, do we think that Johnny is actually dead? Or did he manage to survive? We'll have to see, huh? Okay. I am guessing no? Okay. We'll see, huh? Need a fan. Right, chapter 15. I will try to get through as much as I can. So probably won't be able to make it through the whole thing. Yeah, it's really long. It's almost 40 pages. What the heck? Hello, Cassie. Welcome in. I managed to catch the TikTok this time. There we go. Rain, hello! How are you? We just finished chapter 14. Oh my god. I need something. I'm gonna die. Oh, here we go. Nope, that's too little. Nope, that's too little. Here we go. You're guessing that he still lives? Okay, we'll see. Well, we've missed you too. I hope you're doing well. It's way too hot. I need, like... I keep saying I'm gonna get one of those, like, neck things with gel in it that I can put in the freezer. I need to buy one. Oh, I see. Yeah, you want to make sure you get a good night's rest. So I definitely understand that. Clifford also thinks Johnny is alive? Well, I hope so. I don't remember. And I wouldn't give you the spoiler anyway, but hopefully he's still alive. We will have to see. Alright, chapter 15. It was a sight to stir the blood, the stuff of old tales. They raised the scrap of scarlet cloth to the masthead, and as the first rays of the sun spread out across the water, lighting the high, rocky tower of the Needle to a bright, glowing gold, Seven Waters' fleet emerged from the impossible channel. 3 great longships balanced with the immense skill against the fierce tug of the maelstrom, their prows high and proud in the dark light, or the dawn light, and after them the smaller craft, curig of wattle and tarred skin, squat fishing boat blunt and practical, each with its complement of fighting men. Once they were clear of the whirlpool's perilous currents, the ships parted. One of the Viking vessels made for the smaller island with 2 lesser craft in its wake, while the main part of the fleet made direct for the larger mass of land, where the ships of the Britons now lay beneath the sea, where my cousin's body now drifted somewhere in the arms of Manannán MacLear. Our own curig turned and followed. From a place of concealment in the bows, Godric and Werefrith now took out weapons, sword and dagger, axe and knife, and leather helms. Every man must go prepared to play his part, even those who had spent the night in the water. For them, there was no dry clothing. A man could not fight if he was numb with cold. I watched Derek fitting a helm over his dark hair, and buckling on a sword belt, and then I spread my wings and flew, for the heart of the battle is no place for a woman, and no place at all for a bird no bigger than a man's clenched fist. I summoned the strength of my true self, and flew to the greater island, heedless now of sea eagle, goshawk, or human predator, for it seemed to me this was beyond fear, beyond grief, that the great battle should go ahead, and brave banner of 7 Waters be raised, when the venture was doomed before it ever began. If the child of the prophecy was slain, the long goal of the fair folk could never be achieved. The islands would be lost, the old ways would be forgot. The prophecy was a prophecy. The men would go in and die, and all the time the Lady Oonagh would be laughing. Laughing with scorn, the blood of these strong warriors was spilled to no purpose at all. I could not believe, still, that she had won so easily, and yet I must believe it. With my own incautious telling of a secret, I had ensured that she would win. It was wrong. It must be wrong. Surely it had not been for nothing. The old tales tell of great battles, the exploits of heroes such as Cuchulainn, the warlike deeds of Fiann MacCool, and his outlaw band. They tell of strength and courage, of triumph and reward. They speak of the routing of enemies, but they do not tell of the sights I saw that day, as I moved across the low grassy hills of Greater Island. I saw the bright light of commitment, and a young warrior's eyes changed to stock terror the instant before his opponent's axe struck the head from his shoulders. I saw Snake, the hardened fighter if ever there was one, weeping as he stood over the form of young Mika, lying on a red-stained ground, with the blood pulsing from his severed arm. I heard the maimed youth calling for his mother in the voice of a small child, suddenly gripped by a nightmare. Snake's face was pinched and old as he muttered, "Rest now, son. You fought bravely," and used his knife to grant Mika the gift of a dreamless sleep. The suddenness of it stopped my heart. No story can describe the look in such a man's eyes, as he rises and turns straight back into the fray, bloodied blade in hand. As for Johnny's men, they wielded their weapons even as Bran of Harrowfield did, as if they did not care if they lived or died. Such a force is fearsome indeed, and the Britons fell back before the unearthly light in these warriors' eyes. I lost sight of Derek. He was somewhere out there in the midst of it, but the tunics of the opposing armies were stained with earth and blood, and all was confusion. The forces of Seven Waters had secured the anchorage and the western cove. Here Gull could be seen moving about, giving sharp orders. Here the limp forms of the dead and the tormented ones of the injured were laid out in what little shelter could be found. Not all could be brought back here. There were many slain. By afternoon, it seemed each fold of the land was studded with the broken bodies of Briton and Irishmen alike, and the waters around the island ran red with the mingled blood of these old foes. Among the injured moved the archdruid and his brother, the man with the swan's wing. Perhaps they could do little but murmur a quiet word or two. Perhaps they could only hold the man's hand as he screamed and writhed there on the ground, beyond help of surgeon or healer, waiting only for the goddess to be merciful and grant him his final release. I had been shocked to see what Snake did earlier. Now I understood it. It had been an act of great compassion. The day wore on, and it was close to dusk. There had been talk of victory before nightfall, but it was clear there was no victory, not yet. The Britons were well armed, and for all the element of surprise, it seemed they had soon rallied and put up an orderly and disciplined defense. And they had the advantage of possession. On the highest point of Greater Island there was a fort, and it was to this place of safety they withdrew their forces as the day drew to a close. Behind it, sheer cliffs fell to the sea. On the landward side it was protected by a deep ditch, within which a high earthen rampart shielded their dwellings, their armory and storage huts. In the center was a sturdy stone tower, built round and tall. From such a place a strong defense could be maintained. Still, they could not last there forever. The Oonagh would by now have vanquished the establishment on Little Island, for they far outnumbered the Briton forces there. Perhaps all Sean of Seven Waters had to do was wait. As dusk fell, each army retreated to its rallying point. A strange sort of quiet spread over the land as the light faded. A kind of understanding, as if each recognized the losses of the other. Indeed, in pockets of the land, where the dead lay limp and broken like discarded playthings, small groups of men with lanterns could be seen stooping to gather up their slain. And if a grizzled warrior from Northwoods happened to glance across and see a pale-faced Ulsterman not so far off, about the same grim task he simply averted his gaze and got on with what needed to be done. For all the deceptive peace of the evening, it was acknowledged that at dawn both sides would pick up their weapons and venture forth to start the killing again. You have a desk fan at home? Yeah, put in ice water. That would be nice. That night, I flew over the two camps and learned that a Briton and an Irishman shed the same blood and feel the same grief. The day had shown me that such challenges, such impossible choices, brought out what is finest and bravest in a man. They let his courage shine forth. At times of conflict, a plain man could become a hero. But in every battle there is a loser, and the loser, too, may be a man of bravery and endurance, of steadfast valor and greatness of heart. The tales do not tell of the blood and the sacrifice, of the heartache and waste. Down by the shore were little fires, and around each silent men gathered, seeking in this reflection of the hearth's warmth some reminder of home and loved ones now far away. They had the best of it today. But their losses were terrible, and none worse than the loss of him who had symbolized their certain triumph, the child of the prophecy. Nobody said it, but I thought all knew in their hearts, without Johnny, there could be no true victory. Still they would go on, for Sean, for Seven Waters, for their own battle leader, whether it be Bran of Harrowfield, strangely present in their midst and bearing arms against his own people, or the high-born chieftains of the Oonagh. They sat quiet around their fires and gazed into the flames. Not far off, in the shelter of quickly improvised tents, men lay wounded and dying. Some were already shrouded for burial. If the battle was over soon, they might be conveyed home and laid to rest with a mother's tears, a sweetheart's lament. Amongst the fallen were 3 of Johnny's brave young warriors. Micah lay there, helped to a quick end by Snake's merciful knife. Beside him lay the 2 friends, Werefrith and Godric. The men told a tale that made my heart sore, how Wearfrith was wounded, an arrow taking him in the belly, and how Godric bore his comrade on his back, all the way down from the northern ridge, through the thick of battle. When they were nearly at the cove in safety, a British warrior stepped out and challenged. Holding his friend's unconscious weight, Godric was too slow to dodge, too burdened to flee, and he would not drop the injured man to save himself. The Briton's sword took him in the chest, and as he lay bleeding, he lived long enough to see the enemy draw the blade with casual efficiency across the neck of the man he had carried. So the two of them died together. Forever they would be young and laughing, bright-eyed and fearless. Today these two had fallen, and many another besides. Tomorrow it might be Gareth, or Corentin. It might be Derek. Generations of men had been slain for these islands. The brothers of Finbar and Connor, the brothers of their father, who, strangely, had been my own grandfather. These were my people. But so were the others, for my lineage was that of Harrowfield as well as Seven Waters, and Harrowfield was kin to Northwoods. I flew through the night, heedless of danger, and alighted on the wall of the British fortress. And there, not far away, perched a great dark bird, its eyes fixed on me, fierce and bright. I discovered I was no longer afraid of Yaha. Fear seemed suddenly a waste of effort. My grandmother had won. I was powerless now. Surely there was no more to do but watch and grieve, and wonder only that the Lady Oonagh had not come to gloat, now that the final victory was hers. So I sat quietly by the raven on the wall. Looking down onto Northwood's encampment, I heard them talking. I saw them grieving. There were many dead, and even more wounded, and they had another problem. In this outpost, long thought safe, several men had wives and children with them. A whole small settlement. Now their leaders, grey-faced, stood around their fire debating a terrible choice. If the savages of Erin should triumph and breach their fortress walls, what of the women? There would come a point, maybe tomorrow, when they must decide whether to put their own wives to the sword, or leave them to the mercy of the invader. Best, perhaps, to let the women go armed themselves, and trust each had the will to plunge a dagger in her own breast, or her child's, before they could fall victim to the horror of rape and the brutality of torture and slavery. They spoke of my uncle's men as of monsters. I thought of those bright young warriors, of Johnny and his companions. I thought of kindly, capable Sean of Seven Waters, of courteous, smiling Gull, and of the chief. A hard man, maybe, but in every choice a fairer one. This was all wrong. This long feud had bred a terror based on ignorance and misunderstanding. Did not these grim-faced Britons comprehend that all Seven Waters wanted was for the islands to be left alone? Did none of them understand what it had been all about? I would have flown away, thinking to find some place of shelter, and keep sleepless vigil until a blood-red dawn, but Yaha's gaze was intense. Something in his manner held me where I was, looking down on Edwin of Northwoods, a broad-shouldered young man, who seemed to be his son, and the 4 or 5 others with them. One was a Christian priest, tonsured and robed, a cross about his neck. One was old, grey-bearded, stooped, too ancient for such a place of danger. It seemed they had made their decision. The women would remain in the tower with Brother Jerome. They would be given knives. When the time came, they could make their own choice. Now, to what rest we can find, Edwin of Northwood said gravely. Tomorrow we fight on. We fight until the last man falls. I will not see my name set down as the coward who let his islands go. Pray, friends, that the Lord will be with us. Pray for a miracle. At that moment there was a sudden flare of light at the far side of the enclosure. Close by the around tower, which was their last bastion of defense, and a small group of men came into view. One bore a flaming torch. 2 held between them a young warrior clad in all black, a man whose skin showed chalk white by the torchlight, whose face was bruised and swollen, whose eyes glowed with defiance as they brought him forward to stand before Edwin of Northwoods. The British leader stared at the captive. stared into the fierce grey eyes, whose youthful intensity was heightened by the delicate pattern marked on the skin of brow and cheek. On the left side, the sign of the raven. "But would the tide washed up, my lord?" someone said. "Perhaps," Edwin said softly. "Our miracle is here. With such a prisoner, who knows what bargain may be struck?" He turned on his captains. "You know who he is." There was a murmur of acknowledgement. "Sir." "Yeah, could you not?" "Yeah. Stop it." "Don't you talk back to me!" Just little stinker. He is still a kitten after all. "You're home? Okay, good. Glad you're safe." Right. "Yeah, I hear you." Johnny spoke. "Milo, stop." His voice was very soft. I could barely make out the words. His clothing was dripping wet, his flesh starkly pale. I wondered how long he had been in the water, before the sea cast him up into the hands of his enemies. "They will not deal," he said. "My uncle will not compromise the mission for my life or my safety. This is not our way." "You think not?" said Edwin quietly. "Perhaps Sean of Seven Waters will not do so, but what about your father?" Johnny was silent. He could not quite conceal the shock in his eyes. "Oh yes," said Edwin. "He fights there among the others. He wields the sword against his own countrymen. Will he see his son perish before his eyes for the sake of a principle, do you think? He will not make bargains with you, not for me, not for anyone." Edwin folded his arms. "We'll put that to the test in due course. I think you may be surprised." He turned to the men who held Johnny. "Lock him up for the night. Set a strong guard. Give the fellow a blanket, he's wet through." "He's hurt, my lord," said someone hesitantly. "Bleeding from a flesh wound. Broken a rib or two as well, and he's half drowned. I wonder how he survived so long, cast up on the rocks from the looks of it, and somehow crawled to safety. Found him by accident." "Will he die before morning?" "No, my lord." "Well then, I said give him a blanket and lock him up. Tomorrow is a new day." I watched them drag the captive away, and I watched as Edwin and his men departed to rest, their faces alight with a fresh hope. I looked at Fjaha, and he looked at me. Then he spread his wings and flew away from the island, swift and straight, making a path southward in the darkness. I had never liked his way of doing things. I came very close to mindless panic that night. Johnny was alive. Against all odds, the child of the prophecy had survived. That made my heart thump with joy. It awoke new hope in me. And with that hope came the terror. After all, it was not yet finished. I had a chance to win, to make it all right again. But before it was ended, I knew she would come, and I must face her, and I hope I would be strong enough. The final battle, the only one that counted, was still before me. Fjaha was gone. My otherworld friends seemed to have deserted me. I would not seek out Finbar. I would not reveal myself to Connor, or to my Uncle Sean. There would be no more victims scattered by the wayside. I would bring my grandmother's wrath down on nobody but myself. I must wait until it was light, and change my form, and hope to regain my strength again quickly. For there was no doubt in me that I would not defeat the Lady Oonagh without using every scrap of craft, every morsel of will, every single element of control my father had taught me. Fire child I might be, but my upbringing had ensured I was a creature of cliffs and rocks, of caves and secret places. And it was to such a wild corner of the land that I retreated and seek a place for changing. I had not forgotten last time the crippling weakness which had followed the transformation. I must be out of sight, out of the path of battle, and prayed I regained my strength before my grandmother realized the end was almost upon us, and hastened to witness her final victory. "Yeah, Milo. Milo. Honey? Why are you being a nut? Why are you being a nut? Little stinker. Or CBL hyper now. Ads in 4? Okay. We have a few snoozes if I don't miss it. Alright, here we go. Milo, please. Seriously. What? I wasn't sure what I would do, but I knew I must do my utmost to turn the tide of things before she noticed and came rushing to force me to her will. When she came, I must stand against her and hope some aid would be forthcoming, whether from human world or other world. Increasingly, as neither fair folk nor Fovra showed themselves, it seemed I might have to do this all by myself. I must trust that when the time came, my path would be clear to me. Focus. That was what my father would have said. Make your mind empty, your spirit receptive. Then you will find the answers. There was a place on the south coast of Greater Island, not far from the British fortress, where the land rose in sheer cliffs from the sea, stark and treacherous. Earlier in the day I had seen a refuge here as I flew overhead. A little way down from the top, just for a short length of the cliff, there was a narrow ledge, and this held indented hollows like shallow caves, where clinging creepers softened the rock walls and the pebbly ground allowed a space just wide enough for a man or a woman to sit in relative safety. Looking out over the wide expanse of water below and beyond. There were few places of concealment on this featureless island, but this was one, and I chose it as my place of transformation because of that. Here I could wait out the time of weakness if I must. Here I could make some decision about what I must do, and when, and how. One thing was certain. Nobody must see me in my true form until the moment when I stepped forth and played my part in the end of things. Act too early, and all that would happen was my Uncle Sean sending me back to the boats with orders to keep out of harm's way. Once I was a girl again, I could not move about freely. There was indeed but a single chance to make things right. It all hinged on Johnny. He was a captive. He was crucial to the outcome. Northwoods would use him to try for a bargain, and probably as soon as possible before men were lost. Soon after dawn, I thought. What would the deal be? Johnny's life in return for an Irish retreat? If that were so, my uncle's forces had quite a dilemma before them. They knew they could not win the battle without the child of the prophecy. Milo? Hey, stop it. Knock it off. He won't. He's such a brat. He's like having an actual kid. A very rebellious child. Yeah. They knew they could not win the battle without the child of the prophecy. To sacrifice him was to admit defeat, and fight on with only death ahead. The prophecy was quite clear about it, but I did not think they would be prepared to give up the struggle in order to save him. As Johnny had said, that was not their way. I had seen the light in their eyes as they charged into battle, the look on their grim faces as they followed the banner of Seven Waters into the fray, screaming their leader's name. Somehow, retreat did not seem an option. I must act early, then, before my grandmother saw, and knew, how easy it might be for her to win. The child of the prophecy was a prisoner. How simple for me to end his life and their hopes in one swift, spectacular act of magic. How simple to take the easier way and let Northwoods do the job for me. For she had been quite right, all centered on Johnny. I had better work the charm now, in the dark, here in this small depression in the rocks with the sea frothing in and out far below. I had better move in closer to the cliff face, just in case. There would be time, surely. Time to recover myself and make my way out to the center of things by dawn. I moved cautiously along the narrow ledge on my little bird feet, seeking the place where the crevices were deepest and afforded best shelter. I took 1 step, 2 steps, and a hand came out of the darkness to close around me. My heart hammered with fright, and I let out a strangled chirrup. Ah, no need for that. This voice was soft. This was the tone that had so often soothed frightened creatures. I don't know who this is. Oh, it's Derek. I should probably change that voice then. Oh, sounds like tassels on the phone. Let me know if you hear it, and I'll pause. It sounds like you're Bengal? That's funny. Rebellious child. What are you looking at? What are you plotting over there? He looks like he's planning to do something naughty. I might die of heat before we finish this book. I'm trying, though. I'm trying to survive. Ah. We can do this. Trying to see if I can get through this whole chapter. I don't know, though. It's very long. I don't think it will happen, but I'm gonna try. Alright. The voice was soft. This was the tone that had so often soothed frightened creatures. Hush now. See, I'll let you go, if that's what you want. I didn't mean to scare you. Found the same hiding place, didn't we? Fine spot, this. Good for time on your own or with a friend. Quite like Carrie with the sea and the sky, that is. Derek withdrew his hand slowly and settled back, cross-legged on the rock shelf. It was not so surprising, perhaps, that each of us had sought out this corner of the land, which was so vivid a reminder of the carefree summers we had spent as children. In just such a refuge we had once whispered our deepest secrets. I knew I should go and seek some other place for my purpose. The last thing I wanted was for the Lady Oonagh's attention to be drawn to Derek. Why else had I tried so hard in sending him away? Time after time. But I could not make myself move. Here in the dark, perched high up above the treacherous sea, with him by me, at last I felt safe. Early, Derek said quietly. I could not answer, but I settled on the rocks near where he sat. I want to tell you something, he went on, and I could see in the darkness that he was twisting his hands together and frowning. I saw some terrible things out there. I suppose you saw them too. Things I couldn't have imagined in my worst nightmare. And I did some things I'm not proud of. Proved I could be a fighter, maybe. But it doesn't feel right to shed a fellow's blood, just because he's a different kind. He looked down at his hands. I always thought we'd go home, you know, back to Carrie, when this was all over. I thought I just had to wait and stay by you and hold on, but this is different. It's not what I expected at all. In the morning there'll be more killing, and I'll go out and join in because that's what I'm here for. And I have a feeling that this time there might be no tomorrow, Curly. I don't like to ask you this, but I'm going to ask it anyway, because it seems to me there's nothing more to lose. If I have to die, and that's the way of it, I'd dearly like to see you one last time. I mean, see you as yourself, as a girl. Say goodbye properly. There's things I'd like to tell you. Things I can only say if... But I shouldn't ask. It wouldn't be safe for you, I can see that. I don't want you risking yourself. This had always been my weakness, and my folly. I had tried to fight it, but now I could no more resist the gentle, hesitant coaxing of his voice than could the wild white pony he had brought down from the hills. There was a longing in me to feel his touch, to comfort him with mine, to be by him once more in silent companionship as so many years ago. I ruffled my feathers, and in my mind I spoke the charm of transformation, and changed. I heard Derek's exclamation of shock, and I felt his hands come out towards me as he rose quickly to his feet. I gasped. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell them where I am, promise. And then his face swam before me. and the stars above us began to spin in crazy circles. I buckled at the knees and fell into a dead faint. It was an unconsciousness deeper than an abyss, a darkness devoid of dreams. I did not come to myself until dawn was already touching the sky with its first trace of gold. I opened my eyes to that. I felt the bone-deep weariness that filled my whole body, as if I myself had fought a long battle. And I knew without looking that I lay there with my head pillowed on Derek's lap, and his hand stroking my hair. For a long moment I did not move, and then I forced myself to sit up, and then to stand, reaching out to clutch at the strands of the creeper, as my vision blurred and my head reeled with dizziness. Derek was on his feet in an instant, 2 hands firm on my arm, steadying me. The goddess aid me, I could hardly keep upright. I could barely summon a sensible thought, let alone be ready to perform some great feat of magic. At this rate, I would be no use to anyone, and it was already day. "Whoa, steady. Take it slowly," Derek said, supporting me with a strong grip. He was scowling. His dark eyes were deadly serious as he scrutinized my face. "I'm a fool," he said flatly. "I shouldn't have promised. You're sick, Fanya. You need help. Let me fetch someone. Let me tell them." "No." I summoned enough strength to snap back, terror giving a sharp edge to my voice. "No, you mustn't. I must be left to do this." My words trailed off as a wave of nausea swept through me, followed by a strong desire to weep. This would not do. It would not do at all. Control, strength. I was a sorcerer's daughter with a mission. "Vanya," Derek began. "No," I said, summoning a coldness into my tone with great effort. "Don't say it. Don't say anything. Just go and leave me. I'll be fine. I can look after myself. Go on now, Derek. I hear men abroad. There's a battle to be fought." Derek stared at me. "That's what you want, is it? For me to be out there running fellows through with a sword and leaving you on your own up on a cliff, hardly able to stand up by yourself, miles from home with nobody to look after you? Is that it? That's not what you said before." But he had taken his hands away. I held myself upright by clutching at the creepers with my 2 fists and leaning back against the rocks. Where were the Fovera when I needed them? "Please go," I said in a tight little voice. "There isn't much time. Please do this for me." Oh, let him go. Let him go quickly before this became just too hard. There was another small silence. "Right," he said. "Right. I'll say goodbye then." But he did not step away. Instead, he put his arms around me with never a by your leave and held me close, and I felt his fingers in my hair and his warmth against me, and in an instant everything changed. For there was a longing in me, a yearning for him that was in every part of my body. I could not help it. I clung to him, and he kissed me, and for a long moment I forgot grandmother. I forgot everything in the sweetness of it. "Curly," muttered Derek, his hand stroking my back, the back of my neck beneath the heavy fall of my hair. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." "Sorry?" I breathed. "What have you done to be sorry for?" "I wanted so much to keep you safe. I did my best. I'm sorry things didn't come out different for the 2 of us. I wish I could have been good enough for you." For a moment his arms tightened around me, and I felt his heart hammering against my breast. I opened my mouth to tell him he had got it all wrong, that it was I who was not good enough, and never could be. But before I could say a word, he stepped away from me, and I saw what he held in his hand. At first I could not believe it. The realization was like a cold knife in his heart. In the heart, sorry. I stared and blinked. I put my fingers up to the back of my neck, and as my skin began to crawl with fear, I fumbled inside my gown and knew I had been betrayed by my dearest of friends. "Give it back," I hissed, and saw his face go white, and his jaw clench. "Derek, give it to me." Derek said nothing, but he took a little step away, still clutching in his long brown fingers the bronze amulet and the strong, unbreakable cord that had held it. "Give it to me! How could you? How could you touch me like that and say those things, when all the time it was just so that you could—" "Derek, you must give it back. You don't know what you're doing." I moved closer and tried to snatch it from him. But he was too quick. And besides, he was far stronger than I. He had always been. "It's for the best," he said. "How can you say that? You know nothing. How can you understand? Quickly, give it back. You will bring a curse on all of us." But Derek stood there stubbornly with his hands behind his back, looking at me with eyes that seemed full of sorrow. "You're wrong, Curly. They all say so. Lord Sean, Lady Leodin, Johnny, and the Chief. This thing's evil. It's making you crazy. It's making you lose your way. That's why what?" I spat, distraught that some misguided conspiracy had snatched away my chance to save them all. "You're a pack of fools, and time's running out. Don't you understand? As soon as I take it off, she knows, and she comes to find me. I don't have my strength back yet. Please." Above us, cloud was starting to roll in, strange, coiling swathes of slate gray, thick as a woolen cloak, and with it a chill wind. Above us, gulls screamed a warning. I thought I could hear a voice, familiar though still distant, a voice that turned my heart to ice. "Vanya? Vanya, where are you?" She was coming. She was coming already and driving wind and cloud before her. She was coming, and she would kill and maim until she forced me to do her will. I summoned up the words of a charm to force Derek to let go, to make his hand yield up its treasure. I muttered the words and fought to find the will, but there was nothing. My mind was empty, drained, my spirit hopelessly depleted by the transformation. There was not the smallest scrap of craft left in me. Derek was backing away along the ledge. He was obeying my orders and leaving. Not far off, I could hear men's voices and the clash of metal. "Please, Derek," I whispered, using the one weapon left to me, and I stepped toward him and put my hand up to touch his cheek. "Don't," he said tightly. "Save those tricks for your fine chieftains. Don't try them on me. If you can't touch me honestly and say what's in your heart, then best do nothing at all." His tone was fierce, almost angry. And now I felt his tears falling onto my fingers where they lay against his face. I was frozen. I could not move, though I heard the voice of the sorceress somewhere out over the ocean. "Do you dare disobey me, girl? Do you dare flout me now, at the last?" I opened my mouth to say something, anything, and then I looked into his eyes, and my words halted. In that moment, I saw how he had changed, how the carefree lad with the crooked grin and the whole world of opportunities in front of him had become pale and weary, with eyes shadowed and somber as if he bore a weight of anxious cares on his thin shoulders. I saw what I had done to him. "Curly," he said very softly. I stared at him, hoping beyond hope that he would see sense, and give back the amulet now, quickly. Give it back and save himself. "Maybe I did this because they bid me," he said. "But that was only part of it. I did it for you. It's what I'm bound to do." "Bound?" I whispered, as the wind rose and streamed across the sea, and the air came alive with salt spray and the shaken cries of birds. "How bound?" He looked into my eyes, and shook his head slowly as if in disbelief. "Bound to keep you safe. Safe from those who could harm you. And safe from yourself. Bound by love, Curly." And before I could move, before I could stop him, he raised his arm and threw the amulet. Threw it high into the wild air, and I saw the glint of it in the low sunlight, as it spun up and out above the cliff face, and it fell away down, far, far down to the hungry ocean rolling below. My heart stood still with terror. A voice was saying, "No, oh no," over and over. I buried my face in my hands and registered dimly that the voice was my own. "Curly?" Derek's voice was gentler now, the anger gone. I could not find it in me to respond. If this was love, then I had been right all along. Love was only confusion and pain. I have to go now, he said. You're right. There's a battle to be fought. I can't stand by and not help them. Not while I wear Johnny's colors. Don't, I began, my hand stretching out before me like a blind woman's. Shh, Derek said, and he reached out to touch my hair, to tuck back a stray curl. No more. Then he bent to give me a kiss. A little kiss on the cheek such as a boy might give a girl when the two of them are too young and too shy to put what they feel into words. I closed my eyes, but I could not shut out the sound of my grandmother's voice. Goodbye, Curly, said Derek. Keep out of trouble now. I waited for the next part, but the silence drew out, and when I opened my eyes again, he was gone. As if I were a child playing a game, I made myself count up to 100 slowly. I waited until he would be well out of sight before I made my stumbling, uneven way along the ledge and up over the rocks to open ground. Out in the field of battle, he could take his chance with the others. There he might be one of the lucky ones and escape with his life. With me by his side, he was surely doomed. The sky was alive with angry clouds, and the air with salt spray whipped high. The few low shrubs which clung to the wind-swept landscape now bent to surrender. A storm was coming. A storm whose ferocity was born of a sorceress's fury. There was no time for anything. What could I do? She was coming, and I had no weapons for the battle. None save my own weary body and wretched, confused mind. None save my flawed spirit and my treacherous heart, which felt now as if it were being ripped apart. I stood teetering on the cliff's edge of the wind, as the wind whipped my hair forward like a banner. Think, Vanya. Focus. The red banner of victory. I carried my own. I did not wear the emblem of 7 waters, but I bore my own clothes, and a shawl as dazzling and lovely, as full of life and wonderment as the bounty of the earth itself. Perhaps my own spirit was damaged, my heart cracked in places, so that I could never be fine and good, so that I could never say what I felt, however much I wanted to. But Derek's spirit shone bright. His heart was the truest and best in all of Erin. While I wore his gift, the gift of love, I could move forward. And I had Riona, still tucked in my belt, her pink skirts crumpled, her dark eyes reflective. Riona was my family. She reminded me of whose daughter I really was. Right then. Forget the aching limbs, the fuzzy head, the eyes full of unshed tears. Forget the limp and the weariness, and just get on with it. Milo. He's such a stinker. The ads are running, thank you. I will take a wee break then. What's your brother doing, huh? And do you make him stop being a stinker butt? Boo's probably like, I'm tired of him too. They get along pretty well, but since Milo's young, he likes to play, obviously. Ads are done now? Okay, my bad. Sorry if you missed stuff. It's my bad. Oh my god. Real. Can you make your brother behave for me, please? Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Considering that you are the sweet siren, I will take that as the utmost of compliments. Alright. I don't know how I'm gonna make it through this summer. Swear. Okay, here we go. We will continue. I'm getting to the climax here, so hopefully my voice doesn't get out. Here we go. Where did I stop? Okay. I began to walk, following the sound of voices from over the small rise ahead of me. There was no point in trying to find cover. The landscape was almost bare of features. As soon as I reached the top of that hill, they would see me. Wait, what? Sorry, I need to see who's speaking here. Oh. Right. Not that way, stupid! There was a flutter of wings, and a slight disturbance in the fabric of things. There was a cracking of the earth, and a brief rumbling sound. In front of me now there was a medium-sized boulder, which had not been there before, and by it an owl-like creature with a snub nose and bright red boots. "Don't just walk out there," the owl creature admonished. "Raw courage is all well, but you need to be canny with it." "What else can I do?" I asked weakly, irritation warring with the profound relief that help had come at last. "The sorceress is on her way. I can feel it. I must act now. And there are no hiding places here. What can I do but walk out and tell them? The rock being gave a gravelly sort of cough and was silent. The owl creature raised its bushy brows. "Tell them what? That you think you should pack up and go home? Come on now, use your head. Use your training. We can help you. We can provide cover. We've a talent for that, for merging, so to speak. But the solution's in your hands, fire child, not ours. The last little piece of the puzzle. That's what you have to work out for yourself, and then it's yours. Didn't your father teach you to find answers? This one's right in your grasp, but you must discover it before the Lady Oonagh does, or we're all gone." I scowled in exasperation. "It's not like some kind of stupid game. Doesn't everything depend on this? The future of the islands, the future of the fair folk and Fovera and human folk alike. How can it all hinge on some riddle? Why don't you just tell me the answer, curse you?" There was a little silence. "A prophecy is a prophecy," observed the rock being eventually. "That's just the thing. Unfortunately, it does all depend on you. We'll help you all we can, but we can't tell you. This one's for human folk to settle. That's why the fair folk are standing back even now. Itching to step in and do something, all of them, but they can't. As I said, a prophecy is a prophecy." It seemed to me there was a crying, a screaming in the air around us, and it was not the voices of gulls, but a terrible sound of rage, a searching, eldritch sound that set my teeth on edge. "Where are you? Do not think to thwart me. Act against my will, and I will destroy you." Last time I had taken from morning to evening before she came. Today it would be quicker. She could not see me without the amulet, but she knew the end was close. It would not be long. I began to walk on, and as I neared the top of the rise I observed a little row of feathery bushes, which had not been there a moment ago. A round boulder which seemed to have grown in an instant from the plain, grassy sweep of the hillside. "Keep down," the old owl creature whispered. "Keep out of sight until you know it's time. There'll be one chance, and one only." It settled by my side under cover of the bushes. The lichen-crusted rock at my left, with its mouth-like crack, edged in closer that I was well concealed. "What about Hyaha?" I hissed as I craned my neck to see out toward the British fortress. "Has he a part to play in this? He just flew off and left me." "Oh, yes. That creature has played a part already and will again, no doubt. He has powerful connections. You speak of him with distaste." I shivered. "I don't like him. He saved my life, I think, on the flight from Ulster. But I've never cared for him." "Why not?" It's rock creature. "Why not?" The rock creature's voice was low and soft now. "Because..." And suddenly I was completely lost for words. Suddenly the last piece of the puzzle slipped into place, and my heart gave a great thud like the tolling of some ancient bell, and my head cleared to the recognition of an unbelievable truth. A solution so simple that it was astonishing I had not thought of it before. My fingers went up to rub at a little place on my shoulder, under my gown, and I thought, perhaps, if I had been brave enough to take off the amulet before, perhaps I might have thought of this, and folk would not have suffered and died. Perhaps. "She doesn't know," I said hesitantly. "My grandmother? I'm sure she doesn't know, or she'd never have sent me here." "She suspects," said the old owl creature. Not this precisely, but she senses your power, and seeks to ensure you use it only for her own ends. No wonder she's afraid of me, I said in a whisper. But I have no magic now, no craft at all. It takes a long time to come back after a transformation, days even. How can I do anything without that? You'll have to fake it, the rock being said casually. These are human folk, easily fooled. We'll help if we can, pretend. Confound them with surprises, just until your powers return. Use what you can, the owl creature advised. Use what exists as a druid does. The natural magic of sun and moon, wind and water, rock and fire. Tap into that power and channel it to your own purpose. But I shrugged with exasperation, while my heart still thumped with the revelation that had come to me, the truth that changed everything. It filled me with dismay and terror, and it filled me with pride and hope. Never mind the terrible things I had done. Never mind the evil path the sorceress had set for me. Never mind my weakness. Today I would be my father's daughter. You must away? All right, have a good night. Thank you for coming in. What's this? I think I missed last week. What happened in this story? So, Fanya, obviously, I think you would recall from last week, she had turned into a bird so she could follow the menfolk who were going to battle. Aemon has recognized her, and apparently Fanya's grandfather had informed him somehow of the secret task force that was to sink the Britain ships. So, he devised a plan for one of the men to be replaced so that his spy/assassin could kill Bran, the one that he wants to take his revenge on. Unfortunately for him, that didn't succeed. The spy mistook the child of the prophecy, Johnny, as Bran, and attacked him, and was intact and kind, and he is now dead. And we thought that Johnny was dead. But Johnny is not dead. He washed ashore and was picked up by the Britons. And Fanya decided she needed to change back into her human form so she could do something now that the end was near. And Derek happened to find her and took the amulet that her grandmother had given her to try to control her. And he took it and threw it into the ocean. So now the sorceress is on her way to wreak havoc amongst everything because she was, Fanya wasn't supposed to take it off. So that's where she's at. She's now in her human form, but has none of her powers because she loses all of her strength after she transforms. And the Fovra are there offering her advice, and she's just come upon a realization of something. And she's going to have to use that information to do something about her grandmother. We're going to see what happens. And hello, Dylan. Welcome in. Hopefully that was enough of a recap for you to kind of understand what's going on. But we do have these, available to watch later if you need to go back. All right. Continuing on, despite the fact that my cat is being a pain in the butt. Yeah. Okay. Onward ho, yes. The Allies had used their time well. In the brief span since dawn, they had advanced across the island and up into the perimeter of Northwood's fortress, so that their forces were now deployed all along the outer rim of the ditch below the earthen rampart. So far they had not moved in, for Edwin had a strong contingent of archers posted atop the defenses, under cover, and everyone knew the British skill with the longbow. Instead, they seemed to be waiting for something. Below a central point in the wall, where stone fortifications marked some kind of guard post, the leaders of the Irish waited beyond the ditch. They were all assembled there. In the center stood Sean of Seven Waters, solemn and pale, his tunic bearing the interlinked torques. World of the other world, symbol of the folk of the forest and their mysterious counterparts, whose future today depended on the humankind. There was Eamon of Glencarna, resplendent in green, brushing a stray lock of hair from his brow as he narrowed his eyes to scan the fortifications for signs of movement. His face was shadowed. Perhaps his sleep had been visited by ill dreams. Dreams in which the smallest of errors denies a man his long-sought prize. Something as little as a father and a son who looked too much alike, clad in all black and under water. There were the chieftains of the Oonagh, richly dressed and handsomely armed, and there was a chalk-faced Bran of Harrowfield, with snake and gull by him, and those of Johnny's band who had survived the first day. Big, fresh-faced Gareth, intense, handsome Corentin, and Derrig. And to my surprise, along with these warriors waded the archdruid Connor, upright and grave in his white robe, with the golden torque about his neck, and beside him his brother Finbar, the man with the swan's wing. Nobody was standing too close to him. They viewed him with respect, but such a difference tends to engender fear as well, even in the most hardened of men. And yet Derrig had not feared him, not for an instant. Derrig understood wild creatures. He knew them so well it was no wonder folk had said he was half one himself. He knew how to turn fear into love, with patience. Such an assembly was surely the precursor of some major development. They must have issued some sort of challenge. Surrender or we storm the fortress. Give up or we lay siege and starve you out. Now they awaited a response. Or maybe it was Northwoods who was issuing a challenge. For now atop the earthen wall a small group of Britons appeared, one bearing a white flag, to denote the wish to exchange words without fear of harm. There was a stirring among the men of Erin, a chink of metal, a shuffle of boots. "My lord of Northwoods wishes to discuss terms," one of the British warriors called out across the ditch, straining his voice against the increasing roar of the wind. He spoke in the tongue of Erin, strongly accented. The white banner tore at its bindings, threatening to launch itself into the air at any moment. The lad who carried it held tight to the pole. "He has a proposal for you. If Sean of Seven Waters and his chieftains will step forward to the point below the guard tower, he will come forth and lay it before them. This is on understanding of no further attack from either side, until all parties agree that these negotiations are over. My lord offers this in good faith." I saw Sean glance at Connor, brows raised, and Connor gave a little nod. Perhaps they had expected this. Northwoods was driven back inside his last line of defense. He had no way off the island. What could he do but surrender? And there was doubt on that hard features of the chief, and in Snake's narrowed eyes, and also on my uncle's solemn face as he bade a man call back an agreement. This was too easy. It was too simple a victory for all their losses. And what about the prophecy? Now, among the party of Britons gathered in the guard tower, there appeared a man I already knew as Edwin of Northwoods. Last night, by firelight, he had seemed weary to death, oppressed by terrible choices. Now he was clad in field armor, and over it a russet tunic, and his grey beard was neatly combed, his hair bound back from his face. His expression was calm, his voice steady. "Lord Sean, you know me, I think. Do your chieftains understand this tongue?" "My druid will translate for the men." My uncle spoke in the language of the Britons. It was, after all, his father's native tongue. "What do you want, Northwoods? We stand at your very gates here. You are in our grasp. Have you at last seen sense and come out to bargain for the safety of your men?" There was a touch of impatience in Sean's voice. Connor glanced at him, then rendered his words onto Irish, his tone level. "Indeed," the wind was howling now. Northwoods raised his voice to span the gap of the ditch. "I come to strike an agreement with you, Seven Waters, but not the one you imagine. I want safety for my men, and for all our household within here. I want a ship, and I think you'll give me that, and more besides." Sean's brows rose. "I cannot imagine on what terms such a bargain might be reached, unless you agree to quit the islands forthwith and return with your men to Britain. I'd need an undertaking, signed and sealed, that Northwoods would lay no claim to these shores ever again. I can be magnanimous if I choose. A ship comes now from Harrowfield, captained by my young nephew, Finton. On this vessel your men can be conveyed home with some dignity at least. But none of you will return to Britain until I have your sworn word that you will not ever again set foot upon this shore. Those are my terms. Harrowfield! Edwin turned to one side and spat upon the ground. Harrowfield, whose lord stands even now among your men, a traitor to his own kind. I would not set foot on such a ship if my life depended on it. It is your choice, said Sean levelly. Accept and retreat in safety. Refuse and be overrun. You will die, every one, and the islands will be ours once more. It matters little to me which course you choose. There was a pause. I think you may find, Northwood said carefully, that it is I who will make the terms here, and you who will choose. He turned to his guards. Bring him up, he ordered, and looked again at Sean. I have something of yours here, something you may have thought lost. What will you pay, I wonder, to get it back? Then his man mounted the steps to the elevated guard post, pushing before him a captive whose hands were bound behind his back, whose exhausted eyes were none the less alive with hope and defiance, whose fair skin bore unmistakably the mark of the raven. Okay, I think my voice is reaching its breaking point. Yeah. Oh, all right, we did get pretty far, though. I think finishing next week would be very difficult, but possible. I don't know. But we'll have to see. Maybe I can have Castle help me if we want to finish next week. Yeah. But I think I've hit my limit for today. It seems to be like 2 hours is when it happens, right? Ah. But we're getting to the good part. So sorry that I can't continue. Okay, so are we doing songs this evening? Do you want to do some songs with me? A little bit of a sing-along? You gotta snooze anyhow? We'll get some good rest then, Warbagel. Sleep well and we will see you again soon. Castle's starting a new book. It looks like he's going to be reading The Dragon Knight, if you want to join us for that. He's still finishing Aragon, but Dragon Knight is an oldie but a goodie. It's written by Gordon R. Dixon. I know some of you are familiar with his work and some are not. You're going to take your leave? Abandon her. No, just kidding. Need to get some sleep. Alright, get some sleep, Frost. Sleep well, and we'll see you again soon. Getting to the meaty bits of the story, yeah. We're like at the very climax, see what happens, right? It is, actually, you're right. But this is what was on the desk. So, that, you're correct. The dragon and the George will be the first one. I just grabbed what was here. You're correct. So, we will, I need to figure out where that one is, though. I might have it over on the bookshelf over there. We have lots of bookshelves now. Everything's just kind of all over the place. They're older. They're older. I would find them in, like these mass market paperbacks. You could always find like older books at the thrift stores for like 25 cents. He was one of the authors that I found that way. And Piers Anthony. Does anybody else see the YouTube messages stuck on the screen? Yeah, I don't... Sometimes that happens. It's just like a weird thing with Streamlabs. But yeah, if we're done, we can wrap things up, or if you want a song, we can sing a song. You guys have to let me know, though. It's your choice. I feel like I want to live in a refrigerator. I was like, too bad I'm not strong. I could go get a job and work in the freezer section, you know? A song? All right, Clifford, what do you have in mind? What song would you like? Thank you, War Bagel. Sleep well. Of course, Bear, of course. I mean, I will try to manage it. We'll see. I think I didn't push my voice too far, so I think it'll be okay. But even if it's not, it's all right. We sing because it's fun, not because we do it well, remember? So I'm always happy to at least attempt. And if I mess it up, I apologize. So, what would you like? I'll go ahead and pause this. There it is. A short one. I mean, Gone to America is short if you want to do that one again this week. Soldier Poet King is short. What else is short? Anne Bonny? Okay. You can do Anne Bonny. Okay, well, we can do all three of those. Why not? Why not? We can do Soldier Poet King as a warm-up, and then do Anne Bonny as the meaty part, and then we can end with Gone to America, because it's kind of more of a somber song, you know? Alright, Soldier Poet King is short and sweet, especially because we don't have instruments to do all the filler of the regular song. But it's fun. Here we go. There will come a soldier who carries a mighty sword. He will tear your city down. Ole, ole, oh Lord. Ole, 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 oh Lord. He will tear your city down. Ole, ole, oh Lord. There will come a poet whose weapon is his word. He will slay you with his tongue. Ole, ole, oh Lord. Ole, 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 oh Lord. He will slay you with his tongue. Ole, ole, oh Lord. There will come a ruler whose brow is laid in thorn, smeared with oil like David's boy. Ole, ole, oh Lord. Ole, 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 oh Lord. Smeared with oil like David's boy. Ole, ole. Oh! Okay, see? Very short. All right, let's do Anne Bonny. And again, I don't know exactly how to say the artist's name. It's Carleen or Carlene. It's not a double N, so I think it's Carleen. But it's Karline, if anyone cares to find the actual song. Right? So Anne Bonny. This one's more of a narrative song. It's quite fun. All right. Oh, I'll tell you a tale of a pirate queen, a she-wolf who reigned the Caribbean Sea, with a pistol ready and a cutlass keen. The villainous infamous Anne Bonny. Born in Ireland scandalously, bastard daughter to a prosperous lawyer, shunned suitor and society for the love of a pirate boy. So Calico Jack and our Anne Bonny, passion lovers, villainous plunderers, sailed off for a life of piracy on a ship, the Revenge, ahoy! Oh, I'll tell you a tale of a pirate queen, a she-wolf who reigned the Caribbean Sea, with a pistol ready and a cutlass keen, the villainous, infamous Anne Bonny. But this was the 18th century, where men make knives and women make wives, so Anne disguised herself to be a deadly pirate boy. Oh, she plundered and murdered and raided the sea, with cannons roaring, pistols warring, she ravaged galleons mercilessly. Oh, Anne Bonny. Then a fellow pirate caught a glance, a naked chest, a woman's breast. So she drew her cutlass and took a stand to be Anne, a pirate queen. Oh, I'll tell you a tale of a pirate queen, a she-wolf who reigned the Caribbean Sea, with a pistol ready and a cutlass keen, the villainous, infamous Anne Bonny. And that's when Anne met Rary Reid, a pirate siren, female tyrant. Together they terrorized the sea, a buccaneering team. Oh, they plundered and murdered and raided the sea, with cannons roaring, pistols warring. They ravaged galleons mercilessly, Anne and Mary Reid. On October 1720, gold they struck, so the boys got drunk. An easy opportunity for a ship of British Mary Reid, British Marines. Anne and Mary fought alone, with cutlass flying, pistols firing. They fought hard for their ocean throne, but lost their victory. And so the crew were captured. Oh, thank you so much for the follow. Thrown in prison, death by hanging. But Anne Bonny was pardoned, for her belly held a child. So she paid her Jack a visit, and this she said, with no tear shed: if you had fought like a man, you wouldn't be about to die like a dog. And she turned on her heel and walked out the door and vanished into legend. Oh, I'll tell you a tale of a pirate queen, a she-wolf who reigned the Caribbean Sea, with a pistol ready and a cutlass keen, the villainous, infamous Anne Bonny. All right, we made it, kind of. Yes, I did have a couple of stumbles there. Okay, there we go. We're gonna do Gone to America. This one is one of the suggested songs from Bear that I learned by the Steel Eye Span. And it's a little sad. Well, more than a little sad, but it's good. And again, this is the wrong one. Probably this one. Okay. So this is another short one. So, what are you doing? What are you doing? Come here. Come in. You didn't say hello to everybody. Come here. Okay. That was an odd British law. A pregnant woman couldn't be put to death. Well, it's because there was, at that time, life was still sacred. You know, like it was you would be killing the life of the child as well. So a lot of times it eventually became that they would allow the pregnancy to finish, and then after the baby was born, the woman would be hanged, or whichever other execution method they had. He is trying to cause trouble, for sure. Okay. Here we go. Gone to America. Married him in April, lost him in July. Listen to my story and I'll tell you why. They said that he'd been poaching and stealing wine. They said I wouldn't see him for a long, long time. They said he's gone to America to work the land that some called Virginia. They said he's gone to America. Married him in April, lost him in July. They took him... Stop it! Stop it! They took him as their prisoner, then told me why. They said they had sent him where poachers go. I asked if I could see him, but they said no, and now he's gone to America to work the land that some called Virginia. They said he's gone to America. Married him in April, lost him in July. Curse the men who took him, curse their wicked, curse their wicked lie. The night they saw him poaching and stealing wine was the night he took comfort in these arms of mine. And now he's gone to America to work the land that some called Virginia. They said he's gone to America. Married him in April, lost him in July. Yeah, Milo's trying to sing. No, he's just trying to be a nuisance. Like he does. Huh. Swear. But Boo will be like that too sometimes. Not so much anymore, but in the past, whenever I had a stream night, he'd be a pain in the butt and like put his tail in my face. It's just like, now Milo's taken over and being the nuisance, so. Yeah, I hear you. But then he won't come over here and say hi to you guys, so. Just being a stinker. Come here. Nope, he said no. I tried. Alright, you guys. I think now is a good time to head off to bed, yeah? But I appreciate you guys coming to join us tonight. And I hope you are enjoying the story. It's almost over, so we're gonna have to pick something new soon. And hopefully we can finish it next week. I will try my darndest. But thank you guys so much. I will see you again next week. Obviously, Castle will be streaming on Tuesday and Thursday, so you can join us then. Sometimes I'm in the chat or I'm just listening in while I do some work. And we'll catch you all then, all right, you guys? Of course. Have a good rest of the day. And I hope the rest of you get a good night's sleep. Good night, good night. Thank you very much. And that. Thank you so much. Good night, Durgo. Good night, Clifford. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, close that.